Her sound check ended in room 512. My mic caught everything. I make a living out of listening. Not the kind you do on a couch with a concerned nod, but the kind where you chase tiny sounds through a maze of cables until they sit still and behave. My name is Ethan. Most days I'm the guy behind the board with 10 sliders under my fingers and one thought in my head: catch the truth before it gets away. The night I realized my wife had a second life, the truth arrived as a breath. It was late. I was alone in Studio B threading a plug-in chain for Mara's show, a once-a-week podcast about burnout, desire, and other fires people start inside themselves. She was the host. I was the engineer, the husband, the man who knew which angle made her voice carry like velvet. I had a folder of test takes, little murmurs she made while I was setting levels. Engineers keep these like weather reports. I was half listening when a different timbre slipped in. A man's voice, low and amused, asked a question you ask when the room is almost dark. Do you think he can hear us right now? Mara's laugh answered, the laugh she uses when she pretends to be caught and loves it. He hears everything, she said, voice close to the mic, intimate in the way radio is intimate, safe from eyes, reckless with ears. I stopped the playback, rewound. The same question, the same laugh. I knew the man's cadence. Luca, the guest expert who kept returning every other week to talk about kinetic mindfulness, and who moved like he had rights to a room before he paid for them. In the window overlooking the street, my reflection looked like it was trying to pass for someone sturdy. I clicked through metadata. The file had been recorded in a session labeled Sound Check Rooftop, timestamped 2 nights before. Rooftop meant the Belle Ardent Hotel, because the podcast had recently become fancy enough to tape specials under string lights while women in silk clinked glasses and said, "Love this journey." The Belle Ardent's logo turned up again when I pulled Mara's copy of Giovanni's Room from the bedside table to make space for my laptop. A red "Do Not Disturb" card slid out from between the pages and landed on my knee. The hotel's initials curled at me in gold. On the back, somebody had written 512 in eyeliner. I've never been theatrical by nature. My jealousy, when it exists, prefers quiet rooms. But even quiet rooms have doors, and the one in my chest swung open with an old hinge I'd hoped we'd retired. People imagine an engineer's revenge as technological trackers, ghost accounts, rerouted mics. Maybe that's because they've never touched a throat while someone speaks. You learn fast that the kinder weapon is a conversation. I texted Mara, "You home soon?" Green bubble, 3 dots. A reply, "Finishing edits, babe, don't wait up." I stared at those words until they went flat, like gum that's been chewed too long. Cass, who tends bar at the Belle Ardent and has a PhD in other people's evenings, picked up on the first ring. "You sound like a man talking through his molars," she said. "Come by. Make bad choices where I can supervise." I put on a jacket because nothing awful can happen to a man in a jacket. It's a superstition. The city was humid and perfumed with night-blooming things. The Belle Ardent looked like a promise wrapped in glass. Cass slid a soda with lime my way and leaned close enough to be a secret. "She's up top," she murmured. "They're calling it a soft close. Champagne for the important, green juice for the rest." "I don't want drama," I said. "You want gravity," she said. "Let's see where it pulls." I took the back elevator to the roof. The air up there had learned to swagger. The city made a skirt of lights around the terrace. A DJ was gently apologizing to a crowd for the volume of music rich people will tolerate. I found Mara the way I always find her, by the sound of her voice. She was laughing into a handheld, her hair up in a messy knot that never once in our marriage occurred naturally. Luca stood beside her, angled to her like a shoreline. He was telling a story with his hands. and all the women in the nearest orbit were pretending not to count their fingers after he used them. For a minute, I forgot why I'd come. It's a strange thing to see your wife in her element and realize the element has learned how to keep you out. She caught my eye across the crowd and did a small lift of her chin that meant both there you are and let's pretend I didn't see you. It was the second part that hurt. I didn't storm. I drifted. I let the wordless swells of people carry me to the rail. When I felt ridiculous, I looked out at the hotel across the boulevard, 12 stories of windows like stationary stars. In one, a woman in a robe lifted a wineglass to her mouth and looked at absolutely nothing with absolute attention. The tenderness I felt for that stranger was immediate and undeserved. "Penny for your estrangement," someone said to my left. She was small and bright-eyed with a violin case slung against her hip. "Niall," she introduced herself. "We play the lobby on Thursdays. Thursdays are for people who want practice at pretending." "I'm Ethan," I said. "I'm here for a live demonstration." She followed my gaze to Mara, now conferring with a production assistant, her hand on Luca's forearm. "I'm sorry," she said, without drama. "Musicians know when to underplay. If it matters, nothing looks final from here." "It matters," I said. I surprised myself by laughing. "And thank you." "Do you want advice?" she asked. "Or do you want company?" "Company," I said. "Advice is a song that thinks it's a staircase." She nodded and stood with me like it was the easiest thing in the world, both of us facing the city like we were watching a play we couldn't afford. When the DJ cut the music, applause rose in that social media way, sideways, performative. The host made a toast about art and wellness, and the words fell into the wind like feathers nobody would ever pick up. Mara found me after, careful not to look like she had. "You made it," she said, her smile a little too bright for the lighting. "The kind you wear when you want a photograph to forgive you." "I live here," I said, "in the walls." She leaned in and kissed my cheek, a polite brush that smelled like elderflower. "There's an after something," she said casually. "Sponsors, the usual, don't wait up." It would be funny if the conversation had been that on the nose. It was worse because it was. It was ordinary. That's how you get away with anything in this world, through the door marked ordinary. "I'll stick around," I said. "I want to hear you both talk when the microphones think no one's listening." She flinched so softly the night may have imagined it. "You're sweet," she said, then let the word be a band-aid for a bruise she did not show me. I could have followed them like a villain in a movie. Instead, I did something pettier and kinder. When Mara handed her handheld mic to a tech and moved toward the elevators with Luca, I was there, adjusting her lapel pack with a professional flourish. "Let me keep this on you till you get downstairs," I said. "The recorder's cleaner than your phone." "Always the perfectionist," she said, and let me clip the transmitter back to the strap beneath her collar, fingers briefly on skin that had once been my geography. "It's intimate work, miking someone. Even when you behave, some part of your body remembers what behaving costs." They went into the elevator. I stayed back, pretending to scroll through settings, the transmitter's signal lighting tiny green in my palm. Through my headphones, the sound arrived perfect. The soft hush of the elevator doors, the smallest symbol of her breath, Luca's low chuckle. "Nervous?" he asked. "About what?" she said, and I heard the theater in her voice. "About letting yourself be happy," he said. "About letting tonight be tonight." She exhaled, embarrassed, exhilarated. "You think I'm that easy to persuade?" "I think you like an accomplice," he said. There was the approximate sound of a hand on a hip, a whisper of fabric, nothing explicit. YouTube would have given it a wink and a green light. The elevator chimed. Hallway sounds. A keycard beeped, a bolt slid, a door sighed. Room 512. Inside, the room's air had that carpeted hush hotels engineer for secrets. Luca murmured something I couldn't make out. Then the sound that changed me. A pause, a half step, a kiss landing where a kiss lands when you've been practicing it in your head all week. I didn't yank the headphones off. I let them sit. In the feed, Mara laughed, breathless. "We can't," she whispered, and the way she said it told me she already had. Not the act, not yet, but the crossing. A second kiss longer and the soft thud of them finding the edge of a bed with their knees. I cut the channel. There are beautiful ways to fall apart. I chose the bar. Cass didn't ask for detail. She put a glass in front of me and a hand on the counter like a parenthesis to hold whatever sentence I was becoming. "You want me to call her down?" she asked. "No," I said. "I want this to be a story I can tell myself in one piece." Outside, the street welcomed and ignored me in equal measure. I walked home because I didn't trust what wheels do when grief is the driver. Our apartment smelled like clean laundry and citrus. The candles Mara lights when she wants the air to behave. I showered long enough for hot water to become honesty. Then I sat at our small table and made 2 mugs of tea like the most stubborn version of myself had taken over. Mara came in after midnight, barefoot, mascara perfect in the way only a careful crier manages. She found me the way people find confessionals, slowly, like there might be an exit. "I shouldn't have gone upstairs," she said, voice low and bright with the courage people use on themselves. "It was stupid, it was." "We can skip to the part where I know," I said, and tapped the small recorder on the table, its red light a cherry of truth. She stared at it, then at me. The human brain is a theater. You can see the instant a plot you wrote for yourself burns. You listened. "I'm an engineer," I said, and hated how small that sounded as an excuse. "I've been listening for months." She sat. We faced each other like chess players who had both secretly preferred checkers all along. "I don't know how to talk about this without making you responsible for my loneliness," she said. "And that wouldn't be fair, but I was lonely. I wanted to feel like a live wire instead of a good lamp. He is." "Convenient," I said, then softer, skilled at wanting. She flinched again, and this time she let me see it. "I didn't sleep with him," she said. "Not because of rescue, but because I saw your face in the mirror over the minibar. Do you know what it did? It looked disappointed and kind at the same time. I had to choose which one to deserve." I didn't trust myself to touch her. That happens when your body has been a home and suddenly it's also a courtroom. "Do you want him?" I asked. "Or do you want what he lets you be?" Her mouth trembled. She looked down at her hands like they might tell the truth her voice couldn't carry. "I want you without asking you to be someone else," she said. "And I want to forgive myself for wanting more glitter than we keep in this apartment." "We can buy glitter," I said, and we both laughed, a ridiculous little sound that steadied the floor. "But we can't buy trust back like a candle. We have to build it like a shelf." "I'll do the work," she said quickly. "I'll everything, therapy, honest calendars. No more night shoots that are actually rooftop cocktails, whatever you want." "What I want," I said, choosing each word like it might explode, "is a month apart. No Luca, no microphones, you stay at your sister. I learn what my house sounds like without you. If at the end the only thing we miss is habit, we let each other go without melodrama. If the thing we miss is a person, we try again, but not because we're scared of the dark." She nodded, stunned but grateful the way drowning people are grateful for a command. "Okay." We didn't touch for a long minute. Then we did the only erotic thing I could stand. We stood up and held each other like a slow apology. Fully clothed, heart against heart. the kind of closeness YouTube would applaud for wholesomeness and call it intimacy. Her breath warmed my neck. Mine made her hair stir. When we finally kissed, it was brief and faithful, like an oath sealed with lips instead of ink. She packed in the morning while I made pancakes neither of us ate. At the door, she looked back at the table, the mic, the mugs, like they were a band we'd put on hiatus. "I am sorry," she said, and the difference between sorrow and performance is small but audible. She got it right. The month did what time does when you ask it to carry you, it carried. I took freelance gigs that kept my hands busy and my mind honest. On Thursdays, I went to the Belle Ardent lobby, not because I like pain, but because I refused to let geography bully me. Nile played there, and her bow arm could have negotiated a peace treaty. Between sets, we talked about small loves, good coffee, shoes that leave you taller than your worst moments, the way night tastes different on a bicycle than in a car. She never asked about Mara unless I wanted her to. That restraint felt erotic in a way I'd forgotten existed. Sometimes I walked by room 512 and left nothing at its door. That was a kind of devotion, too, to the man I was, to the man I wanted to be next. I caught myself one evening in a mirror, the elevators, not a minibars, and didn't look disappointed. I looked awake. Mara and I met at the end of the month in Studio B because there's something holy about finishing a story where you started it. We sat on opposite sides of the board. I put her voice in her headphones. She put mine in hers. We counted down the way we always do. 3, 2, 1. "Hi," she said. "Hi," I said. We talked. Not about Luca. He had become a footnote in a book about us. But about the rooms we wanted to live in and which lamps should be bright. We didn't solve the world. We did sketch a map that didn't include hotels. When we left the studio, we held hands, and it felt like walking out of a movie into air that smelled like wet pavement and rescue. People ask later for the scandal. Did you blast the recording at one of her events? Did you text Luca a transcript with timestamps? I didn't. Revenge is a loud song that gets old fast. I am a man who works the faders. I prefer quiet crescendos, her text every Thursday at 9, "You good?" And my answer still here. The slow return of laughter that doesn't apologize. The softest, safest kinds of heat. Her shoulder finding its way beneath my palm in a kitchen with the window open, and the radio playing something with strings. The mic that caught everything sits in my desk drawer now. Sometimes I take it out and hold it like a totem, not of her lie, of our choice. When we are brave, we plug in again. We practice listening that doesn't go looking for trouble, only for truth. We kiss like the closing track of a record you flip and play again. We keep the glitter in a jar by the door. We use it when the room goes dim. And if the room goes dim anyway, we learn together how to move in the dark without reaching for the wrong switch.